Hey, what is going on, guys? This is SMUV Reviews, and it's time to take a look at the newest studio album from Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds, Who Built the Moon? Let's get to it. Who Built the Moon is a very different album, and it's very weird juxtaposed to Liam Gallagher's previous kind of Britpop. You know, a lot of that sound that Oasis had, it's very weird juxtaposed to that, because this album is, simply put, experimental. It's very, it does a lot of things. It's very fuzzy is one word that I could just say up front, because a lot of those instruments are very fuzzy. And a lot of the instrumentation is just different. I mean, it is not a pop album. It is definitely some experimental, a little progressive music. And it's very interesting, honestly. And like I said, it's weird juxtaposed to As You Were from Liam Gallagher, because they both obviously came from the same band, but are doing very different things within their solo career and within such a short time of each other. And honestly, this album is extremely good and experimental, while sometimes could end up becoming a little, could kind of go off the rails. This album, Who Built the Moon, is honestly very interesting and very intriguing to listen to. It's Noel Gallagher's third studio album with High Flying Birds, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I actually do enjoy this experimental sound. And it has a lot of interesting qualities. It has Noel Gallagher's good songwriting that he had in Oasis, but loses the sound of the music and kind of it goes for a little harder sound, a little edgier. And that's because it mixes a lot of major and minor chords often and kind of gives the music a little edge to it because of those dissonancing sounds. And honestly, it's thoroughly enjoyable. I actually did really enjoy it. Something that's kind of interesting, honestly, is Noel Gallagher's vocals. He does not have the prettiest vocals, definitely in comparison to his brother Liam, but when you look at him individually, he has a very interesting vocal style. It's a little more laid back, but yet he still can hit pitches, and it's still actually very good. How the mixing was done with this album, though, it kind of made his vocals kind of become sort of a part of the music. Not a standout part, they're actually sounding like an instrument, because they kind of do get a little washed over by some of the music, which could be considered bad, but honestly, in this situation, I don't think it is. I think that Noel Gallagher has decent vocals, but honestly, he does not have the best vocal stylings, and so by making his voice kind of just sound like a different part of the music, an instrument, it really gives some new, it lets his voice do a little more, because honestly, it is very interesting, and what he does with his voice, like with the pitches, the melody that he's singing is actually very good, but by bringing it into the music and making it sound a little more like an instrument, not literally obviously, but it's quieter, it doesn't stand out quite as much, so it sounds a little more like the instruments, and that kind of helps because his vocals are not probably the most powerful vocals that have ever existed, and so it actually works, and in some circumstances I think that would be awful, but for Noel Gallagher it actually did work pretty well. The whole album, the only writer was Noel Gallagher, and honestly, I actually enjoy that. I think that it really allowed some focus in this album, and while this album actually kind of has a lot of everything, I mean, string instruments, brass instruments, it's got a lot of everything, it really sounds well put together. And this is, again, another little difference between Liam and Noel's songwriting and styles. And I hate to just keep bringing up Liam, but honestly, it's a very good comparison to make because it shows the difference in their stylings. Liam is going for the more poppier, just poppy lyrics, it's really catchy and really fun to get into, but it does not have that depth. Whereas this album, first listen, honestly, can kind of be off-putting. It's extremely interesting, but at some points it's kind of bland because it either gets a little repetitive or it just does not do enough. I mean, it's just a little too experimental and kind of could alienate the audience. But really, this album, it's more of a slow burn. It's not something that's just going to hit you like a pop song would, or in this case, Liam's songs. But it has that depth and that power to these songs. And honestly, it's something that I really enjoy. And not to say that this is just significantly better than Liam's, it's just a different approach. I mean, Liam wanted to go for these fun, interesting, but still very simplistic pop songs, while Noel went for the experimental, deeper lyrics, and I really enjoyed it. All of these songs are actually pretty enjoyable, and there's even instrumentals that I still would not skip when listening through. It just creates this big album, and honestly, I actually do enjoy this experimental sound. This song has a lot of different styles. I mean, anything from the bombastic sounds of Holy Mountain that just has these brass instruments, and it's honestly got a lot of energy pumped into it, to Dead in the Water, a live track that is actually extremely touching and slow and really thoroughly interesting and touching. And so it really has a lot of diversity in this album. I mean, anything from the music to the lyrics to just the sounds, and it's a very different album, and it could be very off-putting for some people, but I honestly think that this is a extremely good work, and juxtaposed to Liam's album, it is completely different. If you're coming here looking for something like Liam's album, it's not going to be here. But if you're looking for something more, if you're an Oasis fan coming for those lyrics and some of the experimentation that they tried that Oasis had, then this just further pushes that experimentation, and honestly, it really comes across well. I think it's a very good effort, and I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. Thank you guys so much for watching. What did you guys think of this album? What did you think about this album juxtaposed to Liam's album? Tell me your thoughts down in the comments below. It was a very interesting album. I mean, it's not perfect, obviously. I do think it sometimes gets a little too repetitive and a little too muddled in the production and the mixing. But honestly, I do really enjoy it, and that's why it got such a good rating. Thank you guys so much. It really means a lot. What can I do? Any suggestions of albums to cover or anything to improve my videos? Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys later.